At a House Intelligence Committee hearing, Congressman Jim Himes, Press Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and FBI Director Kash Patel on election security, foreign interference, and claims about non-citizen voting in American elections. The exchange became tense when Himes challenged officials over the lack of evidence presented regarding widespread illegal voting and questioned why the issue was absent from the government's annual threat assessment. Watch the hearing exchange, then stay for the analysis on election security, foreign interference concerns, and the debate surrounding the SAVE Act.
Director Gabbard, as was well covered yesterday in January, you were present at the execution of an FBI warrant at the Fulton County, Georgia election office at the direction of the president and to all appearances in connection with the president's false claims about the 2020 election. The unsealed affidavit submitted by the FBI made zero reference to foreign powers or outside interference. I don't want to relitigate the reasons why you were there, but I do want to know whether as a result of your visit there is credible intelligence in your possession pointing to foreign interference in Georgia in the 2020 election.
Thank you for the question, Ranking Member. As you know, over each of the previous elections, there is an ongoing effort by different foreign entities.
Ma'am, it's a very specific question. Is there intelligence in your possession relative to foreign interference in the 2020 elections? Very simple, straightforward question.
We are continuing to look at previous attempts to interfere in our elections and any ongoing threats that may exist for the upcoming elections.
Okay, but can I assume that the answer to my question is no, that you have no specific intelligence related to foreign meddling in the Georgia election?
We are continuing to look into this matter.
Okay. Director, the ODNI has confirmed on the record that your office took custody of voting machines from Puerto Rico last May. I'm not aware of any previous DNI taking similar actions. Did your office promptly notify the committee about taking custody of Puerto Rico's voting machines?
I don't believe we did. However, this was done at the request of the Puerto Rico AUSA attorney.
Ma'am, it's a yes or no question.
The
answer, as you have acknowledged, is no. You did not inform the committee about the taking of a territory's voting machines. Is there a specific foreign threat? And I've read the reporting that you were looking for possible foreign threats, but is there a specific foreign threat that drove you to take this action?
There were questions about whether or not there were vulnerabilities that a threat could have taken advantage of, and that was the purpose for their requesting us to look into those vulnerabilities.
Where are those voting machines now?
I believe they are held in a secure facility at ODNI.
Have you or other ODNI officials taken any other state or territory's voting equipment into custody?
Not to my knowledge.
I want to turn in the subject of elections to a paradoxical thing. You will all be aware that the U.S. government is apparently going to grind to a halt. The president is going to sign no more bills. The Senate will spend 2 weeks apparently debating the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act, of course, would make illegal foreigners voting in U.S. elections, which is already illegal. So we are to do no more business because of apparently the existential threat to our democracy associated with foreigners voting in our elections. I am therefore puzzled by the fact that neither the unclassified nor the classified threat assessment makes any reference to risk or danger associated with foreigners voting in our elections. Director Patel, how many non-citizens have been convicted of voting in U.S. elections in the last 10 years?
The conviction stats are with the Department of Justice. I defer to them on that.
You are the director of the FBI. Give me a guess. How many convictions in the last 1 year, 5 year, or 10 years? Ballpark.
I don't have that with me, sir. Again, it's with the department.
You don't have that with, okay. Director Patel, how many active investigations does the FBI have into foreign individuals voting in U.S. elections?
We have a number of investigations, generally speaking, ongoing about individuals across the country.
Yeah, I'm asking for that number.
I don't have that number with me, but I have a number of them.
You have a number of investigations. Okay, is that number 10,000? Is it closer to 10,000 or closer to 10?
It's probably somewhere in between.
Okay. Will you please provide the committee with that number?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Director Patel, since you don't have the numbers, would it surprise you to know that the Heritage Foundation, which is not exactly the Columbia University Faculty Lounge, found only 77 instances of non-citizen voting in the 24 years between 1999 and 2023, each of which faced investigation by the appropriate authorities. So Heritage has a number of 77 examples in 24 years. Does that number surprise you?
No, because it's low.
I don't understand your answer.
You asked me if I was
Are you
surprised by that
disputing,
number.
are you
I'm not.
disputing that the number is in the range of 77 examples of non-U.S. citizens voting in U.S. elections in a 24-year period?
I just said that number's low.
You think that number is low? Okay. So why, if this is a meaningful issue, do we have no, and I guess I direct this to Director Gabbard, why is there no mention of this thing that will grind the American government to a halt for a 2-week period in the worldwide threats analysis?
This annual threat assessment was shaped around the national security strategy's prioritization of threats to our nation and our nation's interests. There are multiple platforms and venues where there have been and there will be reporting on threats to our foreign threats to our elections.
This exchange focused on one of the most politically sensitive issues in American politics, election security. Representative Jim Himes attempted to draw a distinction between two separate concerns that are often discussed together but are fundamentally different. The first issue is foreign interference in elections. The second issue is non-citizen voting. Throughout the hearing, Himes repeatedly tried to establish whether intelligence agencies possessed evidence connecting foreign actors to specific election-related concerns, particularly regarding Georgia's 2020 election and voting systems in Puerto Rico. A central theme of his questioning was transparency. Himes pointed out that intelligence agencies have publicly discussed foreign efforts to influence elections for years, including activities linked to Russia, China, Iran, and other foreign actors. However, he argued that there appeared to be little publicly available evidence supporting claims of widespread non-citizen voting. The most notable moment came when Himes referenced data compiled by the Heritage Foundation. This was a strategic choice because the Heritage Foundation is generally viewed as a conservative organization that strongly supports election integrity measures. By citing Heritage's own database, Himes attempted to argue that even organizations concerned about election fraud have documented relatively few proven cases of non-citizen voting over a period spanning more than 2 decades. Patel did not dispute the number directly. Instead, he described the figure as low. That answer immediately became the focal point of the exchange because Himes used it to argue that lawmakers may be devoting substantial legislative attention to an issue that intelligence agencies themselves do not appear to classify as a major national security threat. The broader context here is the debate surrounding the SAVE Act. Supporters of the legislation argue that election safeguards should be strengthened before problems become widespread. Their position is that preventing vulnerabilities is better than reacting after damage occurs. They often point out that public confidence in elections is essential and that even a relatively small number of unlawful votes can undermine trust in democratic institutions. Critics take a different view. They argue that legislation should be driven by evidence of a significant existing problem. If documented cases remain extremely rare, critics question whether major legislative efforts are addressing genuine threats or responding to political narratives. That disagreement was clearly visible during this hearing. Another important part of the exchange involved Tulsi Gabbard. Himes questioned her regarding her previous involvement with election-related investigations and her office's handling of voting equipment from Puerto Rico. The congressman appeared particularly interested in understanding whether intelligence officials had identified specific foreign threats that justified those actions. Gabbard's responses remained cautious. Rather than discussing specific intelligence findings, she emphasized that intelligence agencies continue to evaluate foreign attempts to interfere in elections and monitor ongoing threats. That approach is common for intelligence officials testifying in public settings. Intelligence leaders frequently avoid discussing sensitive investigations, classified assessments, operational details, or ongoing reviews during open hearings. As a result, lawmakers often become frustrated when direct questions receive broader answers. This hearing illustrated that tension perfectly. Himes repeatedly sought yes or no responses. Gabbard repeatedly framed her answers around continuing reviews and ongoing threat assessments. The hearing also highlighted a broader issue concerning how national security threats are prioritized. At the end of the exchange, Himes asked why non-citizen voting was absent from the government's annual threat assessment. This question was important because threat assessments generally identify risks that intelligence agencies believe deserve immediate national attention. Gabbard responded that the report was designed around national security priorities identified by the administration and intelligence community. Her answer suggested that while election-related threats remain important, other national security concerns currently receive greater emphasis within the annual assessment process. This distinction matters. Threat assessments are not comprehensive lists of every possible concern facing the country. Instead, they prioritize threats based on intelligence collection, risk evaluation, and strategic significance. A topic's absence from a threat assessment does not necessarily mean it is ignored. It may simply mean that intelligence agencies view other issues as more urgent. Another interesting aspect of the hearing involved the difference between intelligence work and law enforcement work. Himes often framed his questions in terms of national security threats. Patel, as FBI director, oversees criminal investigations. Those missions overlap, but are not identical. The intelligence community primarily focuses on gathering information about threats. The FBI combines intelligence responsibilities with criminal investigations and prosecutions. As a result, questions about convictions, investigations, and criminal cases do not always align perfectly with intelligence assessments. The exchange therefore became a debate not only about election security, but also about how government agencies measure risk. One side emphasized documented cases and available evidence. The other emphasized ongoing investigations and preventative measures. Both approaches reflect different philosophies of governance. Some policymakers believe action should be taken only after strong evidence demonstrates a significant problem. Others believe action should be taken whenever vulnerabilities exist, even if documented abuses remain limited. That philosophical divide has shaped election debates across the country for years. From a political perspective, this hearing also revealed how both parties frame election security differently. Democrats frequently emphasize foreign interference, cyber threats, disinformation campaigns, and voter access. Republicans often emphasize voter identification, election integrity safeguards, citizenship verification, and public confidence in election outcomes. Neither side necessarily rejects the concerns raised by the other. However, they often disagree about which threats deserve the highest priority. That disagreement was clearly visible in this hearing room. Ultimately, the exchange left several questions unanswered. How many active investigations actually involve non-citizen voting? What conclusions have intelligence agencies reached regarding voting system vulnerabilities? How significant are foreign interference threats compared with domestic election concerns? And should Congress prioritize legislation aimed at preventing rare events if those events have the potential to undermine public trust? Those questions will likely continue to shape debates in Congress as election-related legislation moves forward. Regardless of political affiliation, most Americans would agree on one principle: elections should be secure, lawful, and trusted by the public. The challenge facing policymakers is determining which threats are most significant and how best to address them without undermining confidence in the democratic process itself. What do you think? Should Congress focus more on foreign interference threats or on preventing non-citizen voting? Let us know in the comments below. For more hearing breakdowns, political analysis, and congressional oversight coverage, subscribe to Capitol Oversight.